Good morning. Welcome to Connecting America on the USA Today streaming channels on this Tuesday morning. I'm Jim Rosenfield. Dave Briggs right here beside me at the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey. There's Allison Camerona joining us from her global home quarters. We're all back together. Cheers.
Good to see you guys. We have a World Series, by the way, Jim. We have the World Series set. Blue Jays and Dodgers.
How do we feel about
Blue
that?
Jays made it last night with the walk-off home run. I don't love it because Seattle had never been to a World Series ever, but Toronto, it's been 32 years. So not all that bad.
Not all that bad. And by the way, we're glad to be back here on streaming on USA Today this morning. Ooh. It's not like we got to sleep in yesterday, right, guys? We were up, we were ready, we had our coffee going, but there was a bit of a problem, a bit of a glitch.
And everybody probably noticed it in their own ways throughout the day.
Yeah, so let's talk about why you did not see us live yesterday. There was this massive Amazon Web Services outage on Monday that took down some of the internet's biggest names, including Roblox, Reddit, Coinbase, and Connecting America. We were impacted because the cloud-based servers that we use to stream this program right now went down. So this disruption, of course, reveals just how reliant the world is on one cloud provider. And experts say when a single tech provider goes dark, critical services from banking to secure communication apps can come to a halt. It was crazy, guys, yesterday.
Fortnite. I couldn't see your Substack, Allison. I was, going through withdrawal. Yeah.
No, for those 2 hours that we didn't know if we were going to be on or not on, or if they were going to fix it or not, I was like, is this thing on for 2 hours? I had no idea. There was nothing we could do to fix it. And it just shows how vulnerable, frankly, the world is to this stuff.
And even though they listed, 10 or 12 companies, it was far broader than that because I was on iTunes. I noticed my top 10 podcasts had not been posted. So it was far more widespread than I think reported.
Was that your podcast in the top 10 you're talking about, or others?
I wish, but we did have struggles getting ours posted. But
that's true, and but we did it, and you're gonna see a little clip of our podcast called Sanity on YouTube later in the program, and it will be relevant. But right now, let's talk about what happened with Axios media reporter Kerry Flynn. Kerry, so explain to us in layman's terms, if you could, what happened, because it's immediately, all of us, I think, immediately think, oh, cyber attack when something this big happens. But what really happened?
Hi, thanks for having me. So Amazon said it was a problem with the system that monitors its network load balancers. I know, sounds confusing, but basically you can think of those as the traffic cops of the internet. They're pieces of software whose job it is to ensure that no one part of the server network is more stressed by the work it has to do. So essentially one of them failed. You can think of it like a dam bursting because the sensors are telling you there are cracks forming and they aren't working. Does that make sense?
It does, because it kind of balances out here at the diner. Dave and I balance the load, so no one host has to do too much, and then Allison at home as well.
I love the analogy.
Yeah. How common are these outages of this scale, and why is it that one provider having issues just sends everything into a tizzy?
Thankfully, these outages are rare in general and rare for AWS. But when they happen, as you know, they ripple through daily life because pretty much the way the world works, we only have 3 major cloud providers. We have Amazon, we have Microsoft, and we have Google. AWS has become this really powerful system for Amazon. You may have seen ads for it on TV. Amazon makes these TV ads that show how many big companies rely on them. It's a huge business for them. But as we've noted, when that business goes down, you have these massive ripple effects.
Yeah, it was similar to what we saw with CrowdStrike. What was that? I don't know, about a year ago when one single glitch really impacted the entire globe. Actually, that was probably more severe, I think, than this one. So what can major businesses, what can companies do to protect themselves?
Experts said that there's thought that perhaps we shouldn't be so reliant on one system, right? At the same time, though, businesses are, strapped. They want this ease of use. Amazon is a good service. So it's really hard to say what they should do. you mentioned that CrowdStrike instance. There was a lot of pushback and a lot of companies who were like, we can't rely on this company anymore. We need to look into competitors. I don't know if we'll really see that here because, again, these incidents are so rare, but it is notable. And obviously, Amazon will be taking a lot of calls in the future to assure their big customers that this does not happen again.
So, Carrie, is it over, or are there lingering effects of what happened yesterday?
There were some lingering effects, essentially, that Amazon said it's over, but things get stuck, right? You mentioned podcasts not downloaded. You mentioned all these things. There's essentially a backlog now of the internet that now needs to follow through. But most of the big hiccups are over. I personally dealt with this yesterday. I was on a flight from Vegas to Orlando, and it's already tricky at airports these days because of the government shutdown. But I was actually delayed on the tarmac, and they said it was internet issues. So really, there was major disruptions. Another little tiny anecdote is I have a smart mattress at home, and that went down because it runs on AWS. That means I couldn't access the app for the heating and cooling system.
Wait, a smart mattress?
Smart mattress. It's an example that shows how connected we are and how reliant on technology, right? I love this mattress, and yet I couldn't take advantage of it because my system relies on AWS, right? So it's true. When AWS goes down, real life slows down too.
Jim has more questions
about the smart mattress.
They track everything.
What does it do?
They track sleep, I believe, right?
Correct. Well, I love it because of the heating and cooling. I got really cold at night. But yeah, I couldn't see my sleep data too, right? It's important, right? If you're taking care of your health. So that was an issue. My flight was an issue. You mentioned podcasts, you mentioned websites. I was really happy to see Axios, our website was up yesterday, but I know there was some tricky behind the scenes operations happening to make sure that that's true. And that gets a little more severe, right? If we're talking about that we can't access news and information as well when these systems go down.
Carrie Flynn,
wow.
I've learned so much. I don't know about you guys. Smart
mattresses. I'm all over the smart mattress.
Load balancers, and I guess I didn't realize there were three major cloud providers. I hadn't done the math on that either. So thank you so much for enlightening me. I learned a lot. All right,
me
thank
too.
you. Yeah.
You could have a high-tech mattress. That is mind-blowing. That's what I took away from that segment.
Dave does not seem at all fazed by
that.
Not
at all fazed by that one. I know a lot about mattresses.
Okay.
Oddly.
All right, let's talk about what else is going on in the world. Moving on from that, former FBI Director James Comey, he's fighting back this morning against those federal charges that he lied during congressional testimony. On Monday, Comey's lawyers filed 2 motions to get the case tossed out. One says he was singled out for prosecution by President Trump's hostility toward him, and that the president flagged him to the Justice Department in a social media post. The other motion says the indictment against Comey is fatally flawed. That's because Lindsay Halligan, the interim U.S. attorney who brought these charges, was not lawfully appointed, they contend. And in another development, the Justice Department is turning up the heat on Comey's lead defense attorney, saying Patrick Fitzgerald cannot represent Comey fairly. They say DOJ lawyers say Comey may have used Fitzgerald to improperly disclose some classified information back in 2017, so they contend there's a conflict. Comey's team says that's, quote, provably false, unquote, and an effort to defame. So that's the latest on Comey.
And new this morning, TMZ reporting former president, I don't know why we said former president, but President Trump.
I think he's still in office, yeah.
Is reportedly weighing whether to commute Sean Diddy Combs' prison sentence, a move that could set the music mogul free as early as this week. A senior White House official telling TMZ that Trump is vacillating on the decision, with some staff urging him not to grant leniency, but sources saying the former president will do what he wants. Diddy is serving a 50-month sentence for violating the Mann Act and has so far served just over a year. His legal team began pushing for a commutation immediately after his sentencing earlier this month, reaching out to a top White House contact known to have the president's ear. Just days ago, Trump publicly acknowledged he was aware of the ask. The possible commutation comes right after Trump granted clemency to former congressman and admitted felon George Santos. And despite Diddy's past support for President Biden in 2020, sources say the door is stunningly still open. And while there are, Look, let's throw out the hundreds of lawsuits over sexual harassment and sex trafficking. There is a video which I hope Americans will never forget of Diddy dragging Cassie Ventura down a hallway in a hotel and beating her.
That's his ex-girlfriend. Yeah.
That is his ex-girlfriend who alleges he raped her for years and abused her both mentally and physically. And this one is really difficult.
You mentioned the Mann Act. That's what? Transportation for prostitution purposes.
Which was the lightest possible. I mean, there were far more serious accusations against Diddy. That was the only provable offense. But this one is beyond the pale, if in fact true.
I agree, Dave. I don't understand what the justification would be for a commutation or a virtual pardon. None of that makes sense. There have been, as you say, tons of civil lawsuits as well for all of the physical and sexual abuse against Sean Combs. He has admitted, he has pled guilty to some of the vile behavior that he's been accused of. And so I don't know what it would say about Donald Trump's values or the Trump administration's values if this were commuted. That means that sexual and physical assault doesn't matter. And what does that mean for Ghislaine Maxwell? What does that mean about Jeffrey Epstein? If that's the message that you want to send, that this stuff doesn't matter. Yeah.
If that's
we need more explanation from the White House about why this would even be considered.
And some people might say, TMZ. TMZ has proven to be a legitimate news source in recent years. It is not what you remember. They do not botch things the way that they used to be loose.
They're attributing this to one senior level source in the White House.
And what happens is this is often a trial balloon to see how MAGA media and congressmen accept a report. And if they don't say much, it tends to move forward. Look, what about law and order? That is what President Trump wants to stand for in this moment. That would be a lot.
Yeah. We need more explanation. All right. Meanwhile, it is day 21 of the federal government shutdown. It is now officially tied for the second longest in U.S. history. In 1995, a shutdown lasted 21 days. That was when Bill Clinton was president. And then the next shutdown was in 2018. That lasted 35 days, and that was during President Trump's first term. So this means the federal workers will miss another paycheck without any end in sight. The Republican-controlled Senate failed on its 11th vote to end this shutdown yesterday. Today, we're told that GOP senators are headed to the White House to meet with President Trump, but it is reportedly more of an optical show of unity rather than a true discussion of how to end the shutdown.
Yeah, because it's the Republicans who are going to meet with the president. So there's not much hope that together they're going to come up with some solution on their own.
The betting markets have it at 38 days. That is the Kalshi betting markets estimate. Now,
is that up from?
That is actually down slightly from 39.6.
Okay.
What's interesting here is the date people are looking at is November 1. That's when open enrollment starts for next year's healthcare premiums. And that's the date it'll really set in. Dear God, my premiums have gone up 20, 30, 40%. I think both sides, Republicans and Democrats, are eyeing that date as we may want to get something done. Several states have also suggested SNAP benefits will come to an end November 1st. And so eye that date.
All right. It's not far off.
No.
Meantime, millions of people we know turned out for the No Kings protests on Saturday in what was billed as the largest single-day protest in U.S. history. More than 2,500 individual gatherings happening across the country. You look at some of the video from some of those cities there, from big cities to small. The rally saw people denouncing just a wide range of policies, also behavior by President Trump. Their theme, they just don't want a president to rule like a king with royal powers. There was even a No Tyrants protest near the U.S. consulate in Toronto, in Canada. No reports of any arrests at any of the locations, but after the No Kings rally in Portland, federal officers did use tear gas and pepper spray against what was reported to be a group of nonviolent protesters outside an immigration and customs enforcement facility. That's a site we've seen some issues in the past.
President Trump spoke about the rally when a reporter asked him a question about it Sunday aboard Air Force One.
I think it's a joke. I looked at the people. They're not representative of this country. And I looked at all the brand new signs made for, I guess it was paid for by Soros and other radical left lunatics. I'm not a king. I work my ass off to make our country great. That's all it is. I'm not a king at all.
Not a king at all, he said, and belittling the people who turned out.
At this point, by all estimates, it appears to be the largest single-day protest in U.S. history. More than 7 million, a remarkable turnout.
You know, one of the groups involved with those rallies was the advocacy nonprofit Public Citizen. And joining us now is that group's Deputy Communications Director, Emily Leach. Emily, thanks for being here this morning. So let's talk about this turnout. How significant do you feel about that national turnout for these rallies?
Thank you so much for having me. I think it was incredibly significant. We saw people turning out in, some of the biggest cities in the country, but also in small rural communities, in red states, in blue states, really just kind of, from all walks of life coming together to say that we see what Donald Trump, his authoritarian agenda is doing. And, we want to affirm that the United States doesn't have a king and will never have a king. So I think that we'll continue to see fallout from this.
Emily, do you have a response? Do you want to respond to President Trump, who said that this is not a representative group of Americans, basically?
Yeah, I think that honestly, the president is scared of how representative this group is. People, authoritarians and wannabe authoritarians thrive when people feel alone and isolated. And on Saturday, we had people coming together from all walks of life, really unified and energized. And I think that Donald Trump is scared of that. But we had teachers and nurses. In DC, we had Bill Nye the Science Guy. So people from all different kinds of backgrounds, I think, who are coming together to say this.
Ultimately, though, what do you hope to accomplish? The midterms are so far away. Is there any goal of these protests?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is much more than electoral. We have on the individual level, I think there's hope that people do feel the solidarity and the energy from Saturday, and that it inspires people to take further action. That might mean contacting the groups that put on your local No King's Day protest, and seeing how you can get involved with phone calls or local government. I think the other kind of outcome that we want to see from this is basically our government has, separation of powers. We've got these three branches of government. It's not just the White House and President Trump. So we want to see Congress and we want to see the courts taking, more authority to stop this authoritarian takeover and to call it out when they see him doing things that violate the law.
Are there more protests in the works planned for this, maybe closer to the midterms, to fire people up?
There will be, I'm sure, more days of action. This coalition is continuing to mobilize the folks who turned out on Saturday. We've got a call this week to talk about next steps. So there will almost certainly be other, national days of action. But I think, as I was saying, there's so many opportunities to take action, get more involved in the meantime.
Emily Leach, thanks so much. She's with Public Citizen. The one critique I have heard from many on the left is it was mainly older Americans, it was mainly older white Americans, that there wasn't a lot of diversity of the crowds, and that the young people were almost totally absent. Gen Z, many articles suggest Gen Z was totally absent from these protests, which is rather unusual.
I mean, I anecdotally, I did see some young people in some of the videos, but to your point, we need to worry about our younger generation just being involved, period, in the electoral process, in what happens with our leadership.
And Donald Trump did very well with young voters, in particular with young men. And so yes. I don't know that trend is really
I wish that we'd asked. I wish we'd asked Emily. Is Emily still there? Is Emily gone? I wish we had asked her because no problem, because as Jim said, like the pictures look like there's young people there and young men there. So I want to get some more numbers on that. We'll bring it to people. But in the meantime, we're just 3 weeks away until election day, and 2 states with governor's races are seen as bellwethers of the country's mood and how voters feel about the Trump administration and what the midterms might look like. So in Virginia, right now, Democrat Abigail Spanberger holds a 10-point lead over the Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears. This is in the Kaplan Strategies poll. That poll was done recently, last week, October 16th through 18th. And then let's look at New Jersey, Dave.
Yeah, the Democratic candidate for governor, Mikey Sherrill, has a 3-point lead against Jack Ciattarelli in a Republican-sponsored poll. She is, though, 7 points ahead in the latest Fairleigh Dickinson University poll, and a much bigger gap in the Real Clear Politics average of all polls. A little too close for comfort for Democrats, for sure. For those who are hoping Sherrill will succeed, outgoing Governor Phil Murphy, who cannot run for a third term. I will say, Virginia, I think, is less a bellwether because what Republicans are saying, and I think they're frankly right, is they don't have an ideal candidate there. Donald Trump has not really embraced the candidate. He spoke there. He didn't mention her. I think New Jersey is a true bellwether. It's a state like New York that has been moving to the right, and they have a very good candidate here. So if that race goes red, it will be very indicative of the climate politically across the country, according to my estimates, for what that's worth.
Well, you know what? We're going to have the incumbent weigh in on this coming up in the next hour. In fact, here on Connecting America, we'll speak with Governor Murphy here at the diner about the governor's race, the federal government shutdown. We're going to talk to him about a lot of things. We'll also be joined by New Jersey's First Lady, Tammy Murphy, as well, right here in the Sunrise Diner, Dave.
Looking forward to that. Yep. Hopefully we get the governor some breakfast. All right, let's get to the latest on the storm brewing in the Caribbean with AccuWeather meteorologist Alex De Silva. Alex, what's in store, my friend?
Yeah, thanks, guys. We're tracking the tropical rainstorm right now in the central Caribbean. It's right in this area here, just north of the ABC Islands. That is Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. So just north of those islands right there. It's expected to be named probably later today or tomorrow, but it's generally going to be moving slow to the northwest here over the next several days, and it's really going to slam on the brakes, I think, just south of either Cuba or Hispaniola in here. Could intensify into a hurricane later this week as it does so, but big problems, I think, for some of these islands here as the storm, like I said, is really going to be slamming on the brakes here and could just meander around in here over the next several days. And so what that's going to do is it's going to bring a lot of rain to some of these islands here, and these amounts might be way overdone. So just keep that, or underdone rather. So just keep that in mind. Again, if the storm stalls in here, we could easily be dealing with feet of rain. Right now, Port-au-Prince, we have 8 to 12 inches. But again, if this storm stalls in that area, we could be dealing with a foot, 2 feet, even more of rain potentially with this storm. And Haiti is very deforested. Most of that part of Hispaniola, the western part of Hispaniola, hardly has any trees, and those trees really help to hold in some of that water. So if we see a lot of rainfall in this area, we could be dealing with widespread mudslides and catastrophic flooding potentially later on this week.
And Alex, what about Puerto Rico? It's hard for me to see the map from here. I mean, we all remember the devastation of Hurricane Maria. Is that in the way?
Yeah, luckily Puerto Rico is on the eastern envelope, I think, of the rain here. We have San Juan in the 1 to 2 inch rainfall amounts at the current time. I think most of the rain will be off to the west right now. Of course, we do need to monitor for any track changes, as any little wobbles in the track could mean more rain for Puerto Rico. Let's say if the storm takes more of that eastern side of the cone, that could bring some more rain to Puerto Rico. But right now, we think they're mainly out of the most severe flooding at the current time.
Alex De Silva, thanks so much for AccuWeather. Appreciate it. Connecting America, just getting started. Up next, the latest on the fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas when we come right back.
Welcome back, everyone, to Connecting America. I see that you guys are getting ready for your breakfast, but it has not arrived yet. So let us know. I guess I heard that you guys were getting ready for your breakfast.
Did you hear that?
I did.
No,
I
not quite
did.
yet. Meanwhile, overseas, J.D. Vance in Israel, as U.S. officials reportedly are concerned the ceasefire with Hamas is under severe strain. U.S. envoys met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu Monday to reinforce the terms of the ceasefire. The calm seems to be holding steady after deadly fighting took place in Gaza over the weekend between Israel and Hamas. Israel had temporarily stopped the flow of aid to Palestinians in Gaza, but has since allowed it to resume.
We have a guest now with some perspective on all of this. We're joined by conservative political commentator Bethany Mandel, who's written extensively about Israel. Thanks for joining us, Bethany. Appreciate it. So given the volatility we know is the Mideast, were you surprised at all by the fighting that did break out over the weekend?
No, not at all. This has been the theme, honestly, for years in this region. When there is a ceasefire, Hamas violates it, and they're sort of thrown back into this cycle of violence. It's why when they were negotiating the phases of this most recent deal, that the Trump administration insisted on the return of all the remains of the living hostages, the remaining living hostages, and also all of the remains of other hostages who were murdered in captivity or who were taken on October 7th. They insisted on that in the first phase immediately because they knew that this would be the end results, that everything would sort of fall apart as it does when Hamas is involved, and they needed to get the hostages back.
And Bethany, what about the argument that Hamas was making, as far as we could tell, which was that these were rogue actors? Whoever launched the attack, it did not come from sort of headquarters. They were still respecting the ceasefire, but there are rogue actors who they've lost contact with. It sounds obviously quite chaotic. What do you think about that argument and whether or not that will scuttle everything?
I mean, you also have to keep in mind that they're not upholding other parts of the bargain, namely that they have not returned all of the remains of the hostages that they have possession of. There's still 16 hostage bodies that they're holding on to, 2 of whom are American citizens. And I think that is a real, trying to say this in a polite way, a real message to the Trump administration, how much they respect them. And I hope the Trump administration is listening to that message.
It's interesting because when you heard Benjamin Netanyahu give that speech at the Knesset, it didn't sound as though he were embracing peace or a ceasefire. He really was talking about the hostages coming home and President Trump. Were there a lot of suspicions initially right away that there wasn't really a deal here for peace, rather just a prisoner exchange?
Well, I just want to note that it wasn't a prisoner exchange. There was innocent Israeli hostages given for mass murderers. So it wasn't necessarily an exchange of like individuals.
Right.
But no one anticipated that this would last because it never has. One of the bodies that they're holding on to is Hadar Golden, who during a previous ceasefire 16 years ago, he was an IDF soldier. He was murdered by Hamas in the middle of a ceasefire, and his body was taken hostage. This is how Hamas operates. They're not willing and they're not interested in laying down their arms. They're not interested in this conflict being concluded. This is how they operate. So it was a cause of celebration in Israel that the hostages were returned, but no one was anticipating an end of this conflict.
Before the ceasefire, we had reported about a poll from the Israel Democracy Institute that found nearly 1 in 2 Israelis wanted Benjamin Netanyahu to resign. Have you gotten any sense whether that sentiment has changed since last week?
No, I mean, it's a lot of the same dynamic that it is here. Half the country loves him and half the country doesn't love him. We have the same situation with our president. There's been a lot of anger, justifiable, and some not so justifiable, in my opinion, about how he has handled the war over the course of the last 2 years. But ultimately, he's a really polarizing figure, the same way Donald Trump is. He's basically their version of Donald Trump. He does good things, he does bad things, and he has plenty of critics.
Quickly before you go, how popular is President Trump there? I mean, the reports are that he's far more popular than Netanyahu.
It's insane. There was a really funny reel that went around Israeli and Jewish social media the other day where there was just going to be an explosion of babies named Donald, and that is absolutely true. He is the most popular person in Israel by far.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remarkable.
Wild.
Bringing Donald, the name Donald back. I thought it had been retired in that generation, but no, it's going to
Yeah.
come back. Bethany, thank you very much for giving us a reality check
That's
from
really
there.
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Easily the most popular person in Israel. I haven't heard it put that way. I knew he was popular. I didn't know it was
Well, we
to
saw
that extreme.
in Hostages Square during some of the remarks when Trump's name came up, people were applauding and cheering, and not so much.
Prediction: they rename it Trump Square.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's better
mark my
than Donald
words.
Square, I think.
Okay, could be.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to look at the hottest and coldest rental markets in this country when we come right back. Welcome back to Connecting America from the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey. Allison joining us from her global home quarters, and our real estate guru, Mark Lawrence, is here with us at the table. So we're talking about places where we can actually afford the rent this morning, Mark?
We're going to talk about places where we can afford and places where we can't afford the rent. We're going to talk both sides of the equation.
Where are we starting? Most expensive?
Let's start with the most expensive, which shockingly, not shockingly,
Across
is
the
New
river?
York City. Yes, exactly. Average of about $4,600 a month for rent. That's a lot.
And this is for a
one
bedroom?
The average.
Just overall.
Across across
for whatever the unit
platform.
size is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
you sound
okay, yeah,
surprised, Dave.
Well,
I mean,
I just figured there was some metric tied to that, whether it's one bedroom, two bedroom. That's a massive number.
In New York City.
That's a mortgage.
1-bedroom apartments, I know for a fact, can go for as much as $7,500 a month in some of these so-called luxury buildings.
I would say in the one bedroom, you can't find anything for less than, I mean, $3,000 is cheap for a one bedroom.
And hence Mamdani leading the polls. He's made that his singular issue, affordability. He's no dummy.
Freeze
makes
the rent.
Sense. That makes sense. Okay, so what else is really expensive right now for rent?
San Francisco, still very expensive. Even with whatever issues they've had in the city and homelessness and other issues, the rent has stayed high. And, that's averaging about $3,300 a month. A lot less than New York, but, still not cheap by any means. Which then brings us to Jersey City, number 3.
It's number 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's so close to New York.
Being across the Hudson, access to New York City. Built a lot of high rises over the last couple of years in Jersey City, and just the access to New York City, makes it an average of about $2,900 for Jersey City.
All right, Boston, Miami round out the top 5.
Right.
So let's talk about the cheap, because that's what people want to know is where
are
can
we
they
going?
afford to
Right.
rent? Number one,
Akron, Ohio.
the home of.
I saw like a pause there. Nobody got excited about that.
I love Ohio, man. My whole family's from there. That's the home of LeBron James.
It is the home of LeBron James and the home of an average of about $750 in rent.
What?
$750. I mean, it's a nice town.
We need to go. Let's check it out.
I mean, for 5-6 months of rent in Akron, will cost you 1 month in New York City. Amazingly.
What
what
also,
else is extra?
Wichita, Kansas. Anyone excited about that?
Look, hey man, I'm a big fan of Wichita, Kansas. It's a
listen.
really underrated town. Some great restaurants.
But will the family go with you, Dave?
Not a chance. I'd be going alone. But I'm saying, if you are not our age, and if you are looking for a startup town that's on the up, that is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of New York. I've got a 24-year-old daughter. She loves living in New York City. She loves going out. Of course, how should she afford to go out after paying the rent? Maybe daddy helps.
Bank of Dad.
The Bank of Dad. But, for young people, that's why they pay that type of money. But they say that the only, people that could afford young people to live in New York City are people in the tech, finance, or Bank of Daddy people.
All right, what else is affordable?
Mommy and daddy. Excuse me. Let's be politically correct here.
Yeah, what else is affordable?
Shreveport, Louisiana. Has anybody been there? It's on the, it's on the Gulf. Southern charm. Something that probably a lot of people don't know about, might be worth checking out. And rounding out our list, Oklahoma City and El Paso, Texas.
I've heard great things about Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
for
baby.
young people, and that it's
the Brickyard. They got a nice ballpark down there. Again, restaurants, like culture, nightlife. Oklahoma City's fantastic.
They've got the world champion Oklahoma City Thunder from the NBA.
That is right. They host the College World Series in softball every year, which is packed, which is a really underrated sporting event.
Exactly.
I think these are such good reminders, actually, because when you're in the tri-state area, as we all are at the moment, you can have blinders on and think that, well, this is where things happen and the kids are going to have to live here. No, the idea of the next generation moving to these new, cheaper but often vibrant cities is the way to go. That's what we should be encouraging our kids to do.
Yeah, and also the job market. Getting a job. A lot of these places now have opportunities. Plus hybrid. You don't have to live where you work. You can, work hybrid and live anywhere. You can live cheap and have a job in New York City.
We're seeing that trend reverse, though. Steadily, we are getting back to pre-pandemic.
It is shifting that way. But certainly hybrid works well, but hybrid, you're going to have to go to the office. So I don't think you're flying from Oklahoma City to New York City once a week to go to work.
No,
probably not.
But I do like the idea that, if you are from one part of the country, explore another part of the country, get to know it. I mean, in our business, we tended to move around from market to market. I mean, I spent time in North Carolina, Houston, Texas, and I loved kind of
South Dakota, Oklahoma.
There you go. Being part of those cultures and learning that there are different, different cultures and different walks of life in our country, and it was fun for me anyway.
Yeah, home is where the heart is.
All right, Mark. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it, sir. All right, this story is just remarkable, guys.
Are you
Kim
on the fashion beat?
Kardashian. Yes,
Yeah.
I am all over this. Kim Kardashian debuting a whole new look over the weekend at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures Gala in Los Angeles. Check that out. She wore a fabric mask on her head, her entire head. This is the picture she posted on her Instagram account. The video also, she told a reporter she did full hair and makeup despite covering it all up. She even flew in her makeup artist, one of the most respected in the business, from across the country.
How'd they feel about that?
Only after she got it did she decide to wear the mask. They did an Instagram video, her hair and makeup artist kind of poking fun at the work they just put in that was completely ignored by Kim K. You're probably wondering how she ate dinner at the gala. She said she ate before and wasn't planning to take off the mask. Please explain what is going on here. This is horrible. This is not okay.
Well, first of all, she needed a handler to walk her around because she couldn't see.
Why?
So not only is this hideous, it's also not practical, I would say, if you constantly need a handler to get you to your table. This
Doesn't
is
she look like a
insane.
hostage?
I
Yes,
mean,
she looks like a hostage.
she does, but we're all talking about it.
Looks
It's
like
all
she's
over.
going to be waterboarded. I really don't understand. This concerns me. And where is the Louvre thief when we need them? The Louvre thief needs to come up, steal those jewels, and make out with Louvre thief. Where are you when we need you?
And we're not even talking about the dress. I mean, why do I see her lungs? Why are her lungs so
It's-
prominent?
It's
I
something.
have so many questions.
There you go.
And there are no answers. Her lungs. You're right. I was looking at other things, but her lungs do stand out. We need to do this for the rest of the show. Like you need to ask the governor.
I mean,
Phil
forget about
Murphy,
it.
what he
We need
thinks
to
of
ask the
this.
governor about this.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because there
Dave.
needs to be an investigation.
All right, keep that tape handy, guys, producers, because Dave wants to hear
What
from
the
the
hell
governor.
is going on? I'm sorry.
Forget about eating.
I'm
What about
done.
drinking some water during the evening?
Right?
I mean, maybe it went through the mask.
How did she drink water? We have so many questions. I mean,
Yeah.
this really begs a lot of questions. And Kim Kardashian, call
Is
us.
she trying to start a trend of looking like a hostage, or
It's trying to start a conversation.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're
I
talking
won't even
about it.
bring up. I won't even bring up her underwear because, as you know, that was all the rage last week. Everybody was talking about her newest line of underwear.
God, the
And
Skims
so she's
line.
just trying to start a conversation. And she has successfully.
Yes.
God, did she just play us? Did that?
Dave, we're going to take a break. So
Damn it.
calm yourself down. When we come back, peanut allergies in kids, they're actually plummeting. Our medical expert is going to join us to explain why that's happening. And it's not because kids are putting on a mask and they can't eat. We'll be right
Where's
back.
the Louvre thief when we need him?
Maybe you've noticed we do love our coffee here on Connecting America.
I'm drinking from an extra large cup this morning.
Yes, and that's why we're excited to launch an ongoing series right here called Perfect Night's Sleep.
And we're going to start with one of the biggest concerns when it comes to healthy night's sleep, and that is snoring. So let's bring in Dr. Jonathan Greenberg. He's the founder of Zipa. That's a device to stop snoring.
Dr. Greenberg, thanks for being here. Before we talk about Zipa specifically, snoring, we know it's annoying, but why is it also a health concern?
When somebody is snoring, they interrupt that deep sleep. If you don't get that REM sleep, if you're not dreaming, your immune system is not being refortified. And it's like you're cutting your police force or the army by 50% the next day. We talk about not just snoring, but what I call secondhand snoring. So the bed partner is impacted as well. Harvard did a study. If you don't get your REM sleep from the night before, you are 4 times at greater risk of an accident the next morning in particular. So the mom who's driving the kids to school is at 4 times a greater risk of a car accident because you, the husband, didn't stop your snoring. And there are great ways to stop the snoring. What's the main cause of snoring? It's actually the tongue. A big tongue in a small mouth. I've treated over 10,000 patients for snoring and sleep apnea. So I've seen this over and over again. When we're awake, our muscle tone is normal. So it's when we fall asleep, we lose that muscle tone, especially to our tongue, it falls back.
So what is the device to counter that?
A silicone strap keeps the tongue from falling back. Here's the mouthpiece, and this strap here is what I call a seatbelt for the tongue. And that's what keeps the tongue from falling back. If the tongue behaves, you don't even know it's there. But if the tongue doesn't behave, just like a seatbelt, it will keep it from falling back and having you snore. Our clinical trial, 91% successful. Our competitors were about 20 to 50% successful. We're talking about really making great inroads for sleep health. We're coming up on breast cancer awareness. I think everybody listening has been affected by someone close to them who's had breast cancer. Zipa said, what can we do? Because we want people to be as healthy as possible. And so our goal is to actually donate $50,000 to Susan G. Komen by the end of October, which means selling through 5,000 of our mouthpieces. The mouthpiece normally is $99. We're taking $10 off, so it'll be $89. We're donating $10 to Susan G. Komen on every mouthpiece sold, and we're giving a 30-day month supply of the mouth tape as well. We've sold over 500,000 of these. Our return rate last year was 4%. We know that it works. So we extended our money-back guarantee from normally 30 days to 91 days. We're not worried about anybody returning it. We want them to take the time to make sure they're successful with it. People always say, how do I spell Zipa? I came out of the 60s and 70s. So we played our records backwards. We did everything backwards. Well, Zipa is happy Z spelled backwards. So I said, what does everybody want? We want happy sleep. So happy Z. Zipa is happy Z spelled backwards.
Doctor, thanks so much for all the information. Really interesting. Go to zipa.com. Use the code PINK, as we were talking about for breast cancer awareness, or the word REST, which is what we all want, to 511-511. Again, zipa.com, the code PINK or REST to 511-511, and you'll be helping to fight breast cancer and stop your snoring.
And keep watching Connecting America to learn how to get the perfect night's sleep.
Text fees may apply.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Connecting America here at the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey. Our medical expert, Dr. Pyle Coley, joins us now to talk about 2 health stories making really interesting headlines this morning. Dr. Coley, great to have you. She's an adjunct professor at Johns Hopkins and Duke University. Let's start with a new study showing peanut allergies down 40%. This is a remarkable. If you were down 5%, that'd be impressive. What happened here?
Extremely remarkable. Good morning to all of you. And this has really turned the medical community on its head, because for the longest time, for decades, in fact, we had been telling parents, do not give your kids peanuts, don't give them tree nuts, don't give them milk, don't give them eggs until they turn about 3 years old, because you're going to challenge the immune system. And then in 2015, there was a study called LEAP that came out that said to do the opposite. Introduce it early when the immune system is learning what's good and what's bad, and you can reduce peanut allergies by 80%. So after that study came out in 2015, the guidelines got revised in 2017. We're now looking in 2025. We've seen, as you said, a 40% reduction in peanut allergies. That's about 40,000 kids that would otherwise have gone on to develop peanut allergies that we avoided by giving them these antigens early.
So it's not
Doctor,
about.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I have a really weird story. I'm traumatized forever about trying to get my infant daughter to eat peanut butter, and she swelled up, and we had to take her to the hospital. I'll never get over it. So we're not introducing peanuts at an early age. What should parents be doing?
No, in fact, the opposite. You are introducing peanuts at an early age.
What did I do wrong then?
Well, so your daughter may have been sensitized for other reasons, because the idea here is kids that grow up in ultra clean environments get sensitized to everything. So they're more likely to have not just food allergies, but cosmetic allergies and other types of contact allergies. But really what all the guidelines have now said as of 2021 is starting at the age of 4 to 6 months, a tiny little bit of peanut butter on their lips. And maybe you want to do it gradually. So you don't want to give a big spoonful, as you might have done. Perhaps
just a little
on her tongue, a little bit of milk. And the problem here is that moms get confused because we're told breast is best, right? You want breastfeeding for as long as possible, but you really want to start introducing those food antigens so that the immune system doesn't overreact and think that they're harmful when actually there's something that it should be accepting.
That's fascinating. It totally flies in the face of everything that we were told for these past couple of decades, but it makes sense because even allergy shots, they're exposing the person to a little teeny bit of the allergen and getting your system, I guess, to fight it or to get used to it. I mean, it makes sense to expose your kids to peanut butter or peanuts. But it's so different, Dr. Coley, than what we've all been taught. And of course, maybe Dave's daughter has a peanut allergy. Some kids will still have nut allergies, correct?
Right. Yes, exactly right, Allison. You're absolutely right. But the time to introduce it is early when the immune system is more plastic. So allergy shots often happen when we're adolescents or adults. And that's by that time the immune system's already tired. It's not quite as flexible at learning. But even the idea of outdoor play having gone down is one of the reasons that we think that we have, more infections. This is something called the hygiene hypothesis, which they've now kind of expanded into something called the microbial hypothesis, which is that we need to be exposed to dirt, we need to be exposed to sick siblings, and we need to be exposed to these food antigens early when our immune system is learning what's good and what's bad. So what most pediatricians are now saying is that have your kids spend some time outdoors. When they're infants, have them crawl around in the dirt, have them be exposed to these food antigens. And perhaps if they get a cold, don't reach for those antibiotics so early because you change the flora in their gut and you can actually make their gut less tolerant to other things that it's exposed to later in life.
I don't know if we have time to talk about the psychological impact that Dave's daughter feels now that she's a young adult. Whether she eats with you, Dave, or does she just clear?
I'll never get over it. I felt like I was child abuse. Like I'll never get over it.
But I have to say a few things, Dave. Has she outgrown the allergy at all?
I don't know because she won't get within 6 feet of peanut butter. We are not allowed to have it in the house, so I don't know.
But kudos to you for recognizing the signs, because I know my niece, she's allergic to cashews. Her parents gave it to her. It took them 30 minutes to recognize that something was really wrong when her face started swelling up. So it is a really good idea for parents to at least know as they're introducing these types of foods exactly what the signs are. And sometimes they can just be inconsolable crying because they're an infant. They don't know how to express themselves.
All right, Dr. Coley, thanks for joining us again. We appreciate it. Learn something new all the time with Dr. Coley.
Absolutely.
All right. We're going to be back at the top of the hour with our top stories. And coming up later in the show, New Jersey's Governor Phil Murphy and the First Lady will join us at the Sunrise Diner. We'll be right back.
Views expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of USA Today or its affiliates.
Good morning and welcome to Connecting America on the USA Today streaming channels. I'm Jim Rosenfield alongside Dave Briggs here at the Sunrise Diner. Roselle Park, New Jersey is our home for the day. Allison Camerata is joining us from her global home quarters. Hey, Allison, how you doing this morning?
Doing well, guys. We need to talk about what happened over the weekend with this Louvre heist. That was all anybody could talk about this robbery in broad daylight that happened at the Louvre because it was like something out of Ocean's 11. I mean, in terms of the just crazy, I guess, planning that went into this.
I hope it's a movie. I'm calling it 7 Minutes at the Louvre. The world's most visited museum, the Louvre in Paris, remained closed on Monday as police searched for 4 people who pulled off a daring daylight heist. Yes, when it was open on Sunday, the thieves got away with 8 pieces of jewelry and dropped a 9th in their rush to get away, a crown. This video of the looted items was taken by a Louvre tour guide almost 2 years ago.
Oh, look at that.
Remarkable. The thieves did not appear to be armed, but they threatened 5 museum security guards. Police have finished most of their forensic investigation at the crime scene, but the Louvre will be closed again today because it's normally closed on Tuesdays. Just an astounding story that it was during daylight when it was open.
Yeah, and went right into the middle of the gallery. Those cases are not near the window they went in. They went right inside.
So joining us now to talk about how something like this could happen is Robert Whitman. His company specializes in security and recovery of art investments. He was also the FBI's expert in art and cultural property crime. Mr. Whitman, thank you very much for being here. Explain how something like this could happen at the most popular museum, the Louvre Museum in Paris, during the broad daylight.
Yeah, Allison, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on. It's not that the museum security was faulty. What happened was that these guys did this in broad daylight. It was a very open crime, and it was audacious. So they were dressed with high visibility yellow vests, like construction vests. So people assumed that they were just working at the museum and doing what they were supposed to do, for the day. And that's why they weren't attacked right away. But once the guards had gotten notified, they came in, they threatened the guards with the art cutters, the cutters that they were using to cut through the cases. And at that point, they withdrew, the guards did, in order to not be harmed or killed. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, it was a really well thought out heist. I agree with that. The fact that they had bought all this equipment, brought all this material in, they got away on mopeds. It only took 7 minutes. But the thing is this, although it was a good, well thought out heist, I think it was kind of sloppy the way they did it. And what I mean by that is they left a lot of equipment there, and one of the guards dropped his yellow vest. All of that material is going to have DNA evidence on it. It's going to have trace evidence. So the police are going to be able to accumulate a lot of information from that material that they left there. If you want to get away with a crime, there's got to be 3 things you want to do. The first is you want to do it by yourself. This was 4 people, all right? So you want to do it alone. You don't want to tell anybody about it, ever, all right? And thirdly, you don't want to leave any evidence. And in this case, they did 2 out of 3. They left evidence, and they had multiple individuals. Now, I guarantee you they're going to be talking about it as well.
Let's talk about what they took and what they might do with it. It's different from a painting that everyone can recognize. Perhaps they can take the jewels out of some of these items of jewelry and repurpose them, if you will. Is that what you expect would happen?
Well, it's a possibility. We hope it doesn't happen. It's like a forward pass in football. There's only 3 things that can happen, and 2 of those are bad, right? So one of the things that could happen is they take the jewels out of the jewelry, and they take the gems, and they melt the silver and the gold, and then you have the loss of the heritage. That's one. The second thing that could happen is they try to sell it. intact, and then they get caught because it's not going to happen. It's very famous material. And the third thing that could happen is maybe the French government offers a reward for recovery, for information leading to the recovery of the pieces. And I've seen that happen in the past where the criminals themselves then try to figure a way to claim the reward. So it's kind of like a ransom. So
Isn't
that would be a good outcome.
isn't the value of these items primarily in their heritage, in their history, in being items at the Louvre? If you're going to reduce them just to their gemstones, isn't there far easier ways to steal gems? Just a hunch.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I've done a dozen of these hits in the past 2 days on CNN everywhere else, and people are all speculating about how they could take these diamonds and sell them and all that. First of all, they're old. It's old jewelry. All right, it's hundreds of years old. So at that time, the refining capabilities of gold weren't quite as good as they are today. So you're not going to have good, solid 24 karat gold here. Secondly, you're right. I mean, to be able to go into, say, a high-end jewelry store like a Harry Winston's or something in Europe and do a smash and grab, you'd probably get just as much value from that than you would from these specific pieces. What makes them so valuable is their historical impact, their heritage, and also, the artistry that goes in to create them. Once you take all that away, really when you break it down, the precious metals and the gems. Now on the gems, they've been studied, and when we talk about gems, we're talking about sapphires. We're not talking about diamonds so much. Rubies, these types of gems. They've been studied and they could be identified. So it's not really a smart theft, to be honest with you. It's not the kind of thing where you can monetize it very easily. Compared to hitting a high-end jewelry store.
But that's so interesting, Mr. Whitman. So, I mean, why did they do it in that case? These clearly, I've heard, were professionals. That people didn't think that this was amateurish. I'd be interested in your opinion. But why do something this high stakes if they're not going to be able to turn a huge profit?
Well, the first part, as far as the professionals are concerned, I think they did a good job of planning this. I'm sure they did some surveillance. They kind of looked at what they were going to be interested in taking. It looks like the big high value items. So they did a good job with the planning. As far as the actual carrying it out, I think it was pretty sloppy. Like I said, they left all this equipment behind. There's going to be a lot of evidence on it. They dropped one of their vests, which of course it's got DNA on it. They lost one of the crowns when they got down. So all of that's sloppy. That's not a good, it's not a good way to do the heist itself. But the planning was good. So, and then the fact that they can't sell the material, I always say, and I've been doing these investigations since 1988 and recovered $300 million worth of stolen art and cultural property. I always say that there's two things. These guys are better criminals than they are businessmen. That's the first thing. All right. And secondly, the real art in an art heist, it isn't the stealing, it's the selling. But what are you going to do with it when you have it? And they don't think about that. They think it's like a car where you can cut the parts up and sell the parts for more than what the car's worth. It's not like that. It's a whole different ballgame. So they're gonna find out that it's gonna be very difficult to monetize this theft.
Really interesting. Thanks for sharing all of that. I mean, I just feel like George Clooney and Brad Pitt would have done it better. That's my takeaway from this.
And maybe
That
they
is
still will.
fascinating.
Yeah, Ocean's 17 or whatever it may be.
I mean, they left behind, he talked about stuff that they left behind gloves, walkie-talkie. There's got to be, as he said, fingerprints, DNA, all over the stuff they left behind. Can you imagine the conversation, though, that they had? Like, okay, what do we do with it now that we have it?
Well, see, I've watched too many movies that I'm thinking they were commissioned, they were paid to steal specifically these jewels from some, billionaire syndicate. But that's because I've watched too many Oceans 11, 12, 13.
Well, but there has been discussion. This is potentially linked to organized crime. So we want to know how this turns out.
Yeah.
All right. Elsewhere, the U.S. is moving to secure some rare earth minerals from the ones used in everything from smartphones to electric cars and cut down the reliance on China. How are they doing this? President Trump and Australia's prime minister have signed a deal to build a new supply chain. This agreement includes joint projects worth up to $8.5 billion. The U.S. will help build a gallium refinery in Western Australia, processing about 100 metric tons every year. And companies like Alcoa will be involved in 3 groups of projects focusing on rare earths processing. The deal aims to cut U.S. dependence on China, which right now controls most of the global supply of these rare earth minerals. Officials say this partnership will help create a more reliable supply for America and also its allies.
President Trump is certainly shaken up traditional diplomacy. Often it's by bringing business leaders in the role that politicians would play. Foreign Affairs correspondent Amy Kellogg joins us with more on that. Amy, good morning to you. That, of course, we're talking about Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, the job they did in the Middle East. What's the latest?
And there's another name that you may not have heard of. That is Mossad Boulos, who is Tiffany Trump's father-in-law. He is Lebanese as well as being American. He's got a lot of business in Africa, and he apparently is the man that all African leaders, I've been told, are lining up to see, because he is the White House senior advisor on Arab and African affairs. And I sat down with him in Rome last week and asked him, and on the subject of all of this businessman diplomacy, real estate guys doing deals where diplomats usually do, I asked him what he and Witkoff and Kushner bring to the table.
But sometimes you need somebody who comes in with a fresh outlook, who is not so probably, deeply involved in the day-to-day bureaucratic aspect of administrations and administrative matters. So they're more focused on problem solving, on especially when it comes to conflict resolution. And they come from the business background is all about taking immediate corrective measures.
I also asked Boulos what the U.S. is planning to do to combat the massive influence of China and Russia in Africa. China, of course, building sometimes substandard infrastructure projects, leaving strings attached and African countries in debt, and Russia destabilizing, spreading misinformation in Africa and malign influence down there. And he said that that the U.S. is looking very hard to try to propose a different way for African countries with better corporate standards. Here's what he had to say about U.S. policy in Africa.
From his policy has shifted from aid to trade, and I've been saying as well that the African continent does not need charity. The African continent is a continent that is quite rich, not just in natural resources, and they're quite abundant, but also in their human resources, and it's a growing continent.
And finally, there's terrorism to combat in Africa. There are conflicts going on, including the one between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, and that's one that Trump claims to have solved. In effect, there is a deal in place that the U.S. is shepherding along, and eventually, what they hope to come from that, another sort of benefit from that, wait for it, would be a rare earths mineral deal, which Mossad Boulos said is being close to being finalized.
It will facilitate the entry of numerous U.S. companies and like-minded companies to go into the DRC and invest in this huge sector, and very important and very strategic sector, with the aim of shipping those minerals west towards the United States.
I think what the bottom line is, what the U.S. is hoping to do is be a good corporate citizen in Africa. Obviously, investments there will have benefits in the United States if all works out, but also the hope is that they will help Africa develop its own businesses, infrastructure, even be part of that rare mineral supply chain to a greater degree. So that is that is what they're really hoping to do in Africa. The team, which includes a lot of great career diplomats working together with Bulos, but really it's about building partnerships in Africa. That is what they're aiming to do.
Story. Both allies and critics of Trump argue, why doesn't he do the same thing here in the United States? Send Jared Kushner in to negotiate the government shutdown. Send Steve Witkoff in to negotiate with Democrats. Why not take a similar business-like approach?
Perhaps he's not there yet.
Perhaps he doesn't want a deal.
Exactly.
Which is what many do believe. Yeah. Crews, meanwhile, have begun tearing down the east wing of the White House to make way for a new $200 million ballroom.
This was startling to see.
It truly was shocking. This is not the president's house. This is, of course, the U.S. government's house. Video shows excavators ripping into the East Wing facade, the same area where first ladies have traditionally kept their offices. The Trump administration says the new 90,000 square foot state ballroom will be privately funded, paid for by the president and other donors. Trump called it a, quote, big, beautiful addition, and said he's fulfilling a longtime dream to give the White House a grand, entertaining space big enough to host about 1,000 guests. White House officials defending the move, comparing it to the Truman-era renovation in the 1950s and dismissing critics as pearl clutchers who don't understand the need to modernize. Of course, you need congressional approval to destroy any part of the White House, again, which does not belong to any one president, but to the United States government. Very interesting what happened here.
The argument that President Trump was making was, you have all these state dinners and you have to erect a tent on the lawn, and we need some sort of permanent structure, but it's huge. I mean, 90,000, it eclipses the White House itself.
That is fascinating. I mean, again, this is the people's house. I didn't know you were allowed to do this unilaterally. And Dave, as you're saying, you need, I know, and you're not. And so Congress, I'd like to hear how Congress feels about this. I mean, because Republicans control both houses, obviously Democrats feel, quite hamstrung. But this is, I don't know, this affects all of us, because how many of our kids for 8th grade went to the White House, and the idea that President Trump can just enact his vision doesn't feel right on some level. Yeah,
there's also a commission that oversees historical buildings in the district. But the head of that is now been someone installed by President Trump, who said this, we don't have oversight when it comes to demolition like this. We have oversight over building height. So that was interesting to hear.
Wow, stunning. All right, when we come back, Thanksgiving could end up costing you more this year. We'll tell you why the price of turkey is on the rise. Stay with us.
And welcome back to Connecting America. Let's talk turkey, guys. And I mean that literally. Your Thanksgiving turkey could cost much more this year. The America Farm Bureau says that recent outbreaks of avian flu have impacted more than 500,000 turkeys this month, mostly in Minnesota. So wholesale turkey prices are expected to reach $1.32 a pound, which is about 40% higher than last year. Now, despite the higher prices, the National Turkey Federation says there will be enough turkeys for Thanksgiving, they believe, though specific sizes, of course, and fresh turkeys could be limited if more cases arise. So some grocers like Aldi are offering deals to help families save, including bundled Thanksgiving meals and promotional deals on turkeys. But how big are your Thanksgiving celebrations going to be? How many people?
That's a good question. I don't know. Are we inviting the whole family? My wife and I have to discuss it. No.
This is going to affect the turkey you buy.
Yeah. We're a small
then you'll be fine. I predict you'll be fine. I'm going to need like a 17-pound turkey.
This is why we skip turkey. Come on, it's not that good. Let's just admit it. It's not that great.
So what do you
I know
serve?
it's tradition.
Great,
What do you
But
guys
can you really? Is it really worth cooking this for 2 days?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Make a steak. Have some pork.
Steak.
Prime. I don't know. Tenderloin.
Okay, this is the most un-American thing I think I've ever heard.
Right. This is what I'm here
Second
for.
of all,
Are you pulling a Kardashian thing where you just want to get attention by
No, I just think
outrageous?
it's the most overrated meal of the year.
Oh, brother,
it
you're
takes
crazy.
8
You don't
days
know
to
my
cook
turkey.
and 30 minutes to eat.
No, it doesn't.
Says Mr.
Guys,
Dry English Muffin over here. I mean, what do you know about good food?
Touche, Jim. Well played.
Good point. Guys, I deep fry a turkey, which takes 1 hour. 1 hour. I deep fry
That
a
I
turkey.
can get
It's
behind.
moist. It's delicious.
Out in the
I
yard,
will
or
be
where do you
showing
do this?
Well, I used to do it in the house, and that really bummed out my husband, who was like, "You're going to burn the whole house down." So now, in respect, I do it out in the yard, and it is cooked perfectly. And I will put a video up on Thanksgiving of my deep frying of the turkey.
I'll be stopping by. You're about 2 minutes away from my house for the viewers.
Don't give
know
him
that.
any
So
turkey.
I'll be popping by.
Don't give him any.
All
right. Here's a spicy way to maybe save a few dollars on your Thanksgiving meal. Popeye's pre-cooked and pre-seasoned Cajun-style turkey. That's coming back for the holiday. Dave, what do you think of this? It's thaw, heat, and serve because it arrives frozen. The birds are in the 11 to 13 pound range, so not enough for Allison and her crew, but they feed between 8 and 12 people. Costs about $55 if you pick it up at the store. Delivery is $100.
There you go, Dave. You would like that. I bet that would be delicious.
I love me some
Try that.
Popeyes. I love me some Popeyes. Oh,
Turkey?
man. Their chicken sandwich is amazing. I've never had their turkey, but huge
Try
fan
it.
of Popeyes.
You can go to their
must be
website
hungry.
All day, baby.
and find out the details there. All right, what
All right.
else?
All right, so if you live in Phoenix, Arizona, your next burrito or late night snack could roll up in a car with no one behind the wheel. DoorDash and Waymo just teamed up to test autonomous deliveries in the Phoenix area. Customers can now choose the autonomous delivery platform in the app, and a Waymo self-driving car will handle the drop-off. To celebrate, Dash Pass members in LA, San Francisco, and Phoenix get $10 off one Waymo ride per month through the end of the year. The companies say it's about making errands easier and taking contact-free delivery to a whole new level. They're already talking about expanding to more cities before year's end. How do you get the food? You have to go to the car and open the trunk yourself. Because usually what we like about delivery is that drop it on your front porch.
You need to add a little robot.
So in this case, you need to go out and open the trunk, I assume?
Yeah.
These Waymo cars, I
guess.
don't know if you guys have been to LA in a while. I was just there, and they are everywhere.
They're all
they
over,
are
right?
all over the streets. I still not have taken a Waymo ride. Have you
haven't
guys?
either. No, I'm not.
I really would like to do so and just see what that's like. I mean, it is really, really expanding.
There are also these little carts that are robotic.
Oh yeah, you'll see
operating
those in
some
New York
cities.
City a
Yeah.
lot, and in Los Angeles and Chicago. The little robots that make deliveries as well. Yeah.
And then
very
there's
cool.
drones delivered. Like you could just have a drone fly over and drop the burrito onto your front porch. That's another suggestion.
It arrives a little flat.
That is happening, right? No, I know you're joking, but I think drones
is.
are doing
Yes.
food deliveries. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't understand how it works exactly. As you point out, it sounds like there's still some things to be ironed out with the humanless delivery. But
I'll tell you though, I mean, just one
new world.
more example of jobs being eliminated, and you got to prepare for this. I mean, you're talking about millions of drivers and delivery drivers who are eventually going to be replaced. And what are those people going to do? It's the AI revolution.
Yeah, it's a real
How
question.
are we going to replace
I
these
think
millions
if there's
of
going to be
jobs?
any breakfast served in Allison's kitchen, she's going to need a robot because I don't see anything going on the stove. There's nothing happening in the way of food.
Yeah, no,
prep.
you're right. I need look. This all sounds very Jetsons, very Jetsonian. And remember how their housekeeper was a robot, and she would like clean. That's what I need. That robot.
What was her name? I mean, we're going way back.
We
Google,
need somebody.
fire up the
Guys,
Google machine.
yes.
I don't remember.
Everybody find us on social media and tell us what the Jetsons maid housekeeper's name was.
All
So
right.
you find us all on social media.
Coming up after the break, New Jersey's governor is here at the diner. Phil Murphy's going to join us to talk about his legacy as he gets ready to leave office after 2 terms. So we'll be right back here on Connecting America. Welcome back to Connecting America, and we have a special guest joining us here at the table this morning. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is here at the Sunrise Diner. Welcome, Governor. Thanks for
Jim,
being here.
thanks
this
for
morning.
having me. Sunrise Diner is an iconic institution in the great state of New Jersey. Thrilled to be with you.
So we're wondering how you're feeling. The countdown is on to the end of your second term and the end of your governorship here in New Jersey. How are you feeling about that?
You know, it's funny. I haven't given much. There's so much going on. I haven't given hardly any thought to the L word, legacy.
Mm-hmm.
People have started to ask me that over the past couple of months. We've got 3 months to go.
We'll talk about legacy maybe a little bit later in the conversation then.
But
Give that some thought,
I'll give it some
percolate,
thought.
as we like to say here at the diner. Want to ask you, though, about who will be your successor, potentially. We hear a lot about this race being a bellwether for what is going to happen across the country, the mood of the country, if you will, and the direction for the midterms. Why do you think, though, here in New Jersey, it's a blue state, 800,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans. Why is the race then between the Democrat, Mikey Sherrill, and the Republican, Jack Ciattarelli, getting tighter by the day, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's the times that we're in, number one. Number two, New Jersey, as blue as it is, has historically elected reasonable Republicans. I'm not sure a MAGA endorsed Republican is reasonable. We'll leave that for somebody else to decide. But this is not a shock. President Trump lost by 5 points last year. He had lost by 16 or 17 in 2020. That happened in a bunch of blue states, not just New Jersey. So I'm not shocked. People are upset by what's going on in Washington. It's a close race for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's Mikey Sherrill's to lose. She's run a heck of a race. She's a super talent. But we'll see. The early in-person voting starts this Saturday. The game day is November 4. As you rightfully point out, New Jersey and Virginia governor's races are the first statewides up to bat after a presidential. Usually says a lot about the mood of the country. We'll see. Again, I'm with Mikey all the way.
Governor Dave Briggs, our colleague there in the diner, and I do a podcast on YouTube called Sanity. And yesterday we had the former Tea Party Congressman Joe Walsh on, who's now left the Republican Party. He's now a Democrat. He's looking very closely at New Jersey. He had very strong feelings about this governor's race and what it would mean, what it means that it's so close, and what it would mean if the Democrat Mikey Sherrill doesn't win. So let me just play you some of his comments to get you to react.
Yeah, if New Jersey goes red and or Dave, even if Virginia is close, and it shouldn't be close, then Democrats have to engage in the mother of all gut checks, because then it almost doesn't matter who or what Trump is, and then it's all about Democrats. Then just gotta. Then Democrats are way too out of touch. I told you guys when I campaigned for her last year, everybody in the middle told me Trump's old Joe, but the Democrats are out of touch. My God, if in this climate, New Jersey elects a Republican governor who is a Trumper, then the Democrats may not be able to save themselves.
So greetings from my relatives.
Do you see it in those stark terms, Governor?
Let me just say, Allison is from Shrewsbury, New Jersey, so let me get that off my chest. Number one,
we share Monmouth County. We share a love of Monmouth County, New Jersey, Governor.
Number two, when I heard Joe Walsh, I was getting ready for the lead guitarist of the Eagles. So you threw a curveball at me. Listen, he's right. If we lose this, that's a huge wake up call. I don't think we lose this. It's close. My reelection was close. Listen, you kind of run against, as they say in politics, you're either running against the last guy or, in New Jersey's case, the president. So when I first got elected, I'm running against Trump, and we won by a couple of touchdowns. Reelection, while I was honored to be the first Democrat to get reelected in 44 years, it was close. It was 3.3% margin. I could see a margin like that in this election. I don't think Democrats can take one vote for granted, but I think at the end of the day, Mikey wins. If Joe is right and it goes the other way, I think it is a huge wake-up call for Democrats.
It should be all hands on deck time, right, for the Democrat in this race, Mikey Sherrill. She's had a lot of high-profile Democrats campaigning for her. Barack Obama appeared in an ad. Yep. She had Senator Amy Klobuchar and former Representative Gabby Giffords of Arizona campaigning here in New Jersey for her. Maryland's Governor Wes Moore, Allison Wright, was door-to-door knocking on her behalf. But you have sort of kept a low profile in terms of campaigning with her and for her. You said this morning right here, you're all in for Mikey Sherrill, but why not take a more high-profile approach to seeing her win this?
On something like that, you always defer to the candidate. And one of the things that she has been, and that we've worked, my wife and I, tirelessly with Mikey on, is raising her money, which we have done as recently as last week. I think it's a testament to her candidacy that she's bringing that all-star group in from outside of New Jersey, beginning with President Obama, who I know for sure is enthusiastic. One of the things we did for Mikey was we hosted him in our home in July and raised a bunch of money via the Democratic National Committee. The Democratic Governors Association is all in. She's a rock star. In baseball, you get this phrase, a five-tool athlete, somebody who can do it all, hit for power, run, good defense, etc. That's Mikey Sherrill.
But just to be clear, she hasn't asked you to stay on the sidelines or maybe
no,
sort of behind the scenes
to the
approach?
contrary. We were together 2 or 3 times last week alone, including in rooms with a lot of people. So absolutely, we've got a great relationship. Not just Mikey and us, but our teams are very close and coordinate very carefully.
Governor, I want to ask you about the government shutdown. We're now in the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. What is the most direct impact to New Jersey? And which party do you think constituents will ultimately hold responsible for this shutdown?
Allison, on the latter, how could you not blame the Republicans? They control the White House, the House, and the Senate.
Because as you know, Democrats are in themselves being obstructionist because they're stuck on the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. They could say, okay, let's get that done later.
Yeah.
We will vote to pass this government shutdown to the continuing resolution.
Yeah, I don't know why you trust let's vote on this later, number one, given the track record of the past 9 months. Number two, if you're going to die on a hill, I'm dying on the hill for more accessible, more affordable health care. That's an American ideal, American values. So I think the Democrats are completely right to die on that hill. In terms of impact, the literal impact we're going to start to see in SNAP, WIC. These are programs, food stamps, monies for women and infant children. We're going to start to see that begin to bite in the next couple of weeks, unfortunately. And as usual, with the past 9 months, the folks who get hurt the most, the folks who get hurt soonest are the ones who are most in need. That doesn't count the complete politicization of this by the president, including and specifically putting a pause on the Gateway project, which is the largest infrastructure project in America, the Hudson Tunnel River rail projects, which is a ridiculous thing to put a pause on, given the impact it will have on not just New Jersey and New York, but on the entire region and American economy.
Do you see that deal as dead? Both the candidates in the governor's race have said we're going to fight President Trump on this. Do you see any resolution to that? You see him changing his mind?
Yeah, I don't see it as dead because it makes too much sense. I think 90,000 construction trades jobs are associated with it. The impact is many billions. With all due respect to Jack Ciattarelli, said he's put an end to it. He got endorsed by President Trump.
Right.
This is an in your face. Come on, man. If you're endorsed by this guy, how do you allow something like this to happen with 3 weeks to go in your election? My money's on Mikey and her ability to, frankly, put a stop on this. But yeah, I'm a glass half full guy. I think we get through the shutdown. I think Gateway goes full steam ahead, but we're going through a lot of volatility and noise, which is completely unnecessary.
And I mean, just on that note, because it does affect so many people and it's $16 billion, is there anything you can do, Governor, right now to get President Trump to lay off and to make the funds flow again? Or is this a unilateral decision right now?
We're working this every single day. We had a very constructive call yesterday with Chuck Schumer and my counterpart in New York, the outstanding Governor Kathy Hochul. We're on with the Trump team, on with Amtrak, on with all the labor interests. We're working this morning, noon, and night. But it's tied up in this political drama right now is the best way I could put it. Again, I'm an optimist. I think we get through this. But it's unnecessary. We don't have to be going through this. And we have too many vibrations right now in our country, too much. What do you say in tennis when you screw up yourself? self-imposed or
Errors.
unforced errors. Right
yeah.
now, we're a country of unforced errors. We don't need to be doing this to ourselves. And this is one, unfortunately, large example right now.
You know, speaking of President Trump, I don't know if you saw that he posted on Truth Social last night about the governor's race here in New Jersey. He called Mikey Sherrill a, quote, stone cold loser. There's the post he put up, who will drive up your energy costs. And he said Jack Ciattarelli will bring energy costs down to a new low. He will never let you down, said President Trump. And speaking of energy costs, that's become a big issue in this race, in the governor's race. We know, offshore wind power initiative, that's dead.
It's on pause, I would say. I'm not sure it's dead. But
really?
Yeah, I'm
until
in there
the end
on that
of the
as well.
Trump term, or
we'll see.
How long do you suppose?
We'll see. I mean, if you're Texas, you're sitting on oil and gas reserves. Jersey's sitting on an extraordinary shore and opportunity. Those are measured in decades in terms of those assets. So we shall see.
Is the energy issue, though, bringing down Sherrill? Is that sort of weighing her candidacy down, do you think?
I don't think so. I think
cost of energy in New Jersey.
Well, cost of energy in New Jersey is a real issue. Yeah. Let me just say that. And it's not unique to New Jersey, but certainly it is in New Jersey. And when you've got a supply-demand imbalance, as we have, by the way, demand is up for a lot of good reasons. We're a hot state right now. We have more people living here than ever, more people employed than ever, more businesses in operation than ever. That's a good thing. The last thing you need, though, when you've got a supply-demand imbalance, is to take 11.5 gigawatts off the table, which is what the Trump administration has done with offshore wind. We've put a ton of money on the street for relief. We're pounding away to get more projects built, particularly clean energy. I signed a big solar bill, a big storage bill. But Mikey's in the right place. She said, listen, day one, I'm gonna freeze. Now, I'm not sure I know exactly what that means, but I love that that's her touchstone, that's her sort of her jumping off place. I haven't seen hardly anything out of the other side, out of Jack's camp, that frankly impresses me on this front. My money's on her, and period, but on this one as well.
All right,
and so Governor, I mean, we've talked a lot about Donald Trump. How big of a factor do you think President Trump is in the New Jersey race? And today, how would you describe your relationship with him?
We've got a very, listen, New Jersey, you could argue, is his second state of interest behind Florida right now. He's had business interests and activities here over the decades, especially in Atlantic City.
He has Bedminster.
He is his home, his second home. He spends a lot of his summers here. So it's a state he knows well. We've had the ability to find common ground with him over the years. I think I'm the longest serving Democratic governor alongside President Trump as president. I'm not sure what that gets you, other than we have probably as good a sense as any in terms of how to deal with the administration. In terms of his impact, and with him personally, in terms of his impact on the race, I think it cuts both ways. It probably hardens a core base that is with him through thick and thin, that they're trying to sort of transit into Jack Ciattarelli's support. And it repels a lot of otherwise reasonable folks. You saw these No Kings protests around the country. New Jersey was no exception. You saw thousands of people show up in places they usually, in many cases, don't show up. They showed up in Montclair, New Jersey. Well, I get that. They're going to show up in Montclair, but they showed up in a lot of towns that are a lot more purpley. And that's probably a very good sign for Mikey, and also an indicator that the president's sort of popularity or unpopularity, as it will, cuts both ways in an election like this.
And when you see him belittling those who did turn out and calling them whacked out, what's your response to that?
Offensive. Mm-hmm. It's not America. I mean, the whole making everything partisan is beneath the office of the presidency and the vice presidency, by the way. The vice president gave remarks to the United States Marines in California that jaw-dropping in terms of how inappropriate they were, how partisan they were. You just hope that these folks can get above all of this, whether it's the shutdown, whether it's people's right to protest, First Amendment rights generally. Let's turn the page and get to a better place right now.
We're going to pause turning the page right now because we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by the First Lady as well. So don't go away. Welcome back to Sunrise Diner here in Roselle Park, New Jersey. Allison joining us from her global home quarters, and we have the First Lady here with us now, Tammy Murphy. Welcome. Before we get started, we'd love to make sure that you get some breakfast. So Trish is here to get your order.
Hey guys,
How are you?
I heard you say coffee, but you didn't tell me milk or cream on the
A
side.
little bit of milk and some rye toast. Is
Buttered
that possible?
or dry?
A little butter. Don't tell anybody.
Channeling my dad. I just want some grapefruit juice. Grapefruit? Do you want a small or a large? A small.
Allison, how jealous are you?
Guys, well, I'm very jealous, but I do feel
Thanks,
like
Trish.
you're not going full Jersey diner order for us right now. Like, what's your go-to order for breakfast at a Jersey diner usually?
Yeah, we're reasonably healthy, which I know doesn't get you any votes in Jersey.
Which allows for some cheat days. And now's your time.
We
to
do
cheat.
lunch.
We had a banana at home before we came up here, so we got a little bit of fruit.
You guys are party animals,
Right.
man. Yeah, wow.
I recommend the yogurt parfait. It's got fresh fruit, and then you
Okay.
don't feel like you're doing anything
Okay.
too unhealthy.
Okay,
So
that's a
maybe
deal
you'll try
next
that.
time.
Tammy, thanks for being here with us here at the diner. We really appreciate it. You've been active in Democratic politics, as we know. So I'm curious what your take is right now on the state of the party and its leadership as we look at the sort of the big picture nationally.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me, and thanks
Yeah.
for having Phil. What is my take? I mean, I think after every election loss, there's a retrenchment and there's a time to lick your wounds and try and figure out what went wrong and how to change course and change direction and move forward. We had Ken Martin at our house this summer. We had President Obama there, and we are in and out of these circles with the DGA and the NGA and the like all the time.
The Governors Association groups.
Apologies, yeah.
Yeah.
Democratic Governors Association and National Governors Association. One very partisan, one very not partisan. And I would just say to you that there's a lot of soul searching, and I think there's a lot of good leadership out there that's just trying to pick the right moment.
I think we've got a great bench, which I want to add to that last point. And I want to also quote Al Davis. He used to own the Raiders. Just win, baby. We got to win New Jersey and Virginia. You start putting wins on the board, you change the narrative. I
Getting
think
some momentum going.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
Thank
and
you.
Tammy, I think, look, you've heard the rap on the Democratic Party right now that there is no inspirational leader that people are looking towards, or somebody who inspires as much passion, I guess you could say, as President Trump does on the Republican side. So what's the answer to that one?
Listen, the president is unique. He is one of a kind, and he inspires every day just by sending out a tweet or 50 and just being a great communicator. I don't think we have found the right antidote for that on the Democratic side yet, but I do think, as Phil said, we have an incredible bench, and there's so much talent out there, and there's a lot of people who we're hearing and bubbling up and coming into our feeds and reaching out to us. So,
Allison, I also think if you look at history, when you lose and you like we did last year, there's almost always an interregnum where lots of people, who's going to be the next guy, the next gal. There's a lot of back and forth, and then ultimately somebody emerges. I'm on that front. I don't think it's panic button time. I think we got to win a couple of elections, turn the calendar to next year, and then you start to sort of put it together.
Speaking of the bench, we know that you put your hat in the ring to run for Senate in New Jersey, and then you pulled back and said you were dropping out of the race. But do you foresee that you might run for political office yourself once again?
you know, never say never, but I would tell you right now, we're really focused. I am really focused on sprinting through the tape in January. We're not even talking about what we're going to be doing after that moment in time. So I think that there's a lot to consider. We'll figure it out as we go.
You have not talked about what you do when this job is over. The first thing you want to do?
No,
not even that.
No, we have
the first thing.
First thing is we're going to go take a few weeks off. I got for my birthday present a trip from my wife, so we're going to take a couple weeks off and recharge.
But that sounds great. And I assume at a New Jersey beach. But Governor,
in January,
yes, in January, they're good anytime, as we know. But Governor, what are your plans? Would you consider running for president? Do you have further political aspirations?
You know, Allison, and I literally mean this. This is where Jim and I started 20 minutes ago. We haven't given this the thought that it deserves. I wouldn't take anything off the table. I mean, public service generally has been really important to us. I was our ambassador in Germany. I was one of the senior guys of the Democratic National Committee. I'm obviously an 8-year governor, which has been the position of a lifetime. You don't walk away from public service lightly. So I'd be shocked if we're not in the mix doing something. I just don't know what that something is right now.
And we know, Tammy, that you have a family that you've been raising during this 8 years.
Yes.
Some challenges that came along with kind of juggling both roles as first lady and mom to several children. Four
Murphys.
I would say we are very much of a team act, and Phil and I do everything together. Obviously, he does a lot in the government that I don't do, but raising our children, everything we take on is a team effort.
It's hard to believe they're in their 20s.
I know.
When we first went to Germany as ambassador, they were 12, 10, 8, and 6. So it kind of takes our breath away.
Puts it all in perspective.
Wow,
Hey,
wow.
Allison, do you have a lightning round of sorts?
Yeah, because we've only got 45 seconds left.
Yeah.
Okay, Governor, favorite Bruce Springsteen song?
Thunder Road.
Isn't that the best?
I love
That's
it.
mine too.
I love
That
it.
is such a good one. Tam, Mrs. Murphy, what's your favorite?
Jersey Girl.
I knew you were going to say that. That's another good one. Those are such good choices.
And quickly, your favorite beach is the shore. Did you guys talk about this?
No, but Island Beach State Park, which is, we just love it. It's an incredible gem. Thank you, Trish. We love it.
Governor, First Lady Murphy, thank you so much for being here on Connecting America. We really appreciate it. Wish you the best of luck when this job is finally over.
Appreciate it.